Yeah, but I don't know what that is.
front gate. Your best friend Doug, right here. You're gonna growl at him? That was funny. You saw a lot of teeth.
Boy, they started early.
Did they really? I was like 5-ish.
I can see you, Mr. Mayor, but I can't hear you.
Hey, Doug, do you have me now?
Oh, loud and clear now.
Okay, I muted and then unmuted and, did all that. And I guess it came back.
Perfect. Yeah, and your video is good too. Perfect.
Okay, thanks. Hey, I can't see who else is on. Cody, maybe, I guess. It looks like we're doing public comment and then citizens comments. How does that work?
I think that's more of a Diane. I think this is a very, very short meeting. We're not having to swear anybody in. Yeah, maybe Diane can explain that better.
Yes, after Jennifer we'll have public comment on the final public hearing. So we can either take public comments after each resolution, but Jennifer had it this way for some reason.
Okay. It just seems like we would at least read the individual resolutions and then ask for public comment, but
right.
However you want to do it.
What we do.
I don't really care. It was just confusing. So unless that
maybe
was
we can
really her way of making sure that we got public comment.
I think that might be it.
Okay.
Jennifer chime in.
Okay.
We
That's
can
fine.
just
I don't
skip
really
that
care.
part,
We're just-
and after I read the title, ask for public comment. If you want to do
Sure,
that.
whatever. I mean, that's fine. It's gonna these two resolutions will be quick anyway, and then I guess getting the description of the CIP. So
Right. We'll do that.
I'm discussing that. All right, thank you.
No
I didn't
problem.
realize that I already had the stuff. It wasn't showing up in my calendar, so thanks for resending it anyway. I appreciate it. I just didn't want to be caught without it. Appreciate you. Thanks.
No problem.
Hey, Louis Gonzalez, I see you in there. You don't have to answer. Just know that I'm going to throw you the Pledge of Allegiance, leading it, so you're not caught without your mic. Okay?
10-4.
Brandon, is that you logged in as AV?
Mr. Williams,
Hello there.
Steve Cook. How are you doing, sir?
I am good. And I think
Welcome.
it's all working. Oh, hello there, Mr. Mayor.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Sorry I didn't give you a chance 2 weeks ago to say anything.
No,
I was just kind of motoring through the meeting and I totally blew it. I apologized at our last meeting, but you won't.
the fewer words the attorney speaks, the happier everyone is.
Or weren't apparently. Well, that's true, and it's easier on the pocketbook usually. But anyway, I just wanted to give my regards and apologize for not giving you
Oh, no worries.
a moment. I didn't give Chuck a moment either to welcome you, and I felt bad about that. So.
Ah,
I wish I was Mr. Protocol.
yeah. It's not a fashion show.
Oh, I thought it was. You're wearing a tie and the keys, so.
Well, I'm guilty of that on occasion.
Yeah, turn them into. Oh, that's gonna be awesome. All right, I need to take care of a dog real quick. Steve. I don't know if you're busy, if you got a second. In the past meetings, even though we had adopted the executive order 2069, as far as not having to read all of this stuff, because we were doing the quasi judicial, I offered that we should at least, even though we know they're already watching at this point. So if they're watching, I was just offering that we re-give how to call in. Do we need to do that on this budget meeting?
I don't think so.
Quick note, you know,
Oh, I'm losing his audio. Doug, can you hear him? I've lost him on audio.
I can hear Steve.
I can't. Oh, that was weird.
I'm sorry, am I not speaking loud enough?
Oh, there we go. That's better.
Okay, I might not have been speaking loud enough. I was trying not to be that guy that yells into the computer. At any rate, what I was discussing was during some of the past meetings, even though we had resolved to adopt the virtual meeting rules, and I was told we didn't have to reread this stuff at every meeting. It seemed lazy to me. And it seemed that due to quasi-judicial and other things, while we're trying to let people have a public comment, this virtual style of meeting, it seemed that we should at least do our due diligence and give them the number. So should we keep doing that tonight, since this is our last meeting?
It wouldn't hurt anything to do it tonight. There's no penalty for doing it.
Do you want to read it? Do you want me to read it?
Go right ahead. You have at it, and then I'll try next
In
month.
past, we've had, okay. Well, likely we won't have to do this next month. We'll be,
I hope you're right.
I think in chamber next month. Renew. Help us. All right.
Hey, George, are you logged in as you, or are you out in the lobby?
What I did is I logged in as me, and then I'll leave a background that's more acceptable. Like the background should now be a grassy background. I mean, maybe I'm in there, but hang on. That okay?
Yeah, we've got you. Now, are you in the lobby? Is that the lobby computer?
Yeah,
Okay, terrific. Thanks.
okay, good deal.
Hey, Doug, does it look like we have everybody?
Yes, we have all the council members.
Okay, so we'll go at 5:05. All right, this is the City of Marathon City Council budget hearing, Tuesday, September 22nd, 2020, 5:05 p.m. Let me begin with members of the public who wish to comment on matters before council may do so by either calling 394-1130 or emailing the City of Marathon at ci.marathon.fl.us with your name, address, and phone number, and where you can be reached during the meeting on September 22nd tonight, or by calling 301-715-8592, and upon receiving a voice prompt, dialing meeting ID 781-080141 with a password of 33035. Members of the public who participate in the meeting through this option must mute themselves until called upon to speak. I'd like to now call this meeting to order. And if we could all rise and recite the pledge as Mayor Louis Gonzalez.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Silence honoring the life of and passing of Justice Peter Ginsburg. Rest in peace, Justice. All right, moving along. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bartis,
Councilmember Bartis just texted me. He's reloading his computer. He froze up, so he'll be here in a second.
okay. Councilmember San Martin,
Here.
Councilmember Zig,
Present.
Vice Mayor Gonzalez,
Here.
and looking. It's not logged on yet.
Mr. Lewis.
I'll just wait a moment until he logs on, if that's okay with everyone.
No worries. Hmm.
And we do have Mayor Cook. We do have a quorum, so it's up to you, Mayor, if you want to wait a few minutes more.
John just texted me. He should be on any second.
Oh, okay.
I'm fine.
Thank
I'm
you.
fine waiting.
I see him.
Yeah, he's logging in now.
Councilmember Bardis.
I just showed up. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
I'm present too.
Yes, I called your name.
All right. I'm present. Approval of agenda.
Move to approve.
Anyone?
Second.
Excuse me, one moment.
All right. We have a
We do have a remove, one item is removed from the agenda.
Correct, Council. I'd like to remove Resolution 2020-71, ratifying the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Marathon and the Professional Firefighters of Marathon. We'll be bringing that before you in the October meeting.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve as amended.
Okay, it sounds like you're removing it. All right, you've moved to approve as amended. Second. All right, we have a second. All in favor? Any negatives? Hearing none. Motion passes. Ms. Lavier with the resolution 2020-69, and then ask for public comment after each item.
Sure. Resolution 2020-69, a resolution of the City of Marathon, Florida, adopting the final millage rate and levy of ad valorem taxes for the City of Marathon of Monroe County, Florida for fiscal year 2021 and providing for an effective date. Section 2 reads, the fiscal year 2020-2021 final millage rate for the City of Marathon is 2.5900 mils, which is 2.59 for each $1,000 of taxable assessed property value, and the tentative millage rate is greater than the rollback rate of 2.4631 mils by 5.15%.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment by any means? Mr. Lewis?
I don't know if we have anybody yet, but I'll let everybody know to unmute yourself is *6, to raise your hand is *9.
Ms. Clavier, do we have anybody on your list?
We do
Or
not.
do you have a list for this meeting? Okay.
Actually, no one has signed up previously, so.
Okay, very well. And Mr. Lewis, still nothing?
I show nothing. We have 2 callers on the line, but nobody has raised their hand to speak.
Mr.
All
Mayor,
right.
move to approve 2020-69.
Second.
Zieg has moved, and I think Gonzalez second.
Yes, sir.
Is there any other comment? Let's call a roll.
Councilmember Zieg,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilmember San Martin,
Yes.
Councilmember Bardis,
Yes.
Mayor Cook,
Yes.
motion
Next item.
carries. Resolution 2020-70, adopting the final budget for fiscal year 2021, authorizing expenditure of funds established by the budget and providing for an effective date.
Again, I would call for any public comment. Anybody that's on the line that wants to comment on 2020-70, adopting the final budget, either by phone, by Zoom. Hearing none, retain the motion.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve resolution 2020-70.
We have a
Second.
motion from Vice Mayor,
Second.
second from Mr. Bartis.
Discussion?
Thank you, gentlemen. Discussion item, go ahead. Mr.
So-
St. Martin, discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So there are a couple of things that I would like to address with the budget. There are, honestly, there are some numbers in here that I just don't quite get how we get to. And there are other numbers in here that I would have liked to see a little bit higher. For example, Public Works equipment. I think we're a little on the short side. There's some equipment that's definitely needed in Public Works for tree trimming and, maintenance of the streets and all of that. And I kind of feel like we're shortchanging it a little bit. Can I get a little input maybe from Chuck or Jennifer?
Yeah, these budgets are set by the department director. So actually, I'd like to ask Carlos to chime in if he has any details. Go ahead.
Actually, I'd like to point out that most of our heavy equipment purchases are purchased out of the street maintenance fund, which is funded from our gas tax proceeds. So Carlos actually does keep a schedule where we replace the mowers and his small equipment. So he can chime in now with anything that he may need coming up.
Yeah, Governor, like I said, we went through that equipment. We're picking up some equipment. And like I said, on the Public Works budget, we really don't purchase any of our street maintenance equipment, which the mowers, tractors, things of this nature, those all come out of our street maintenance budget, not the Public Works budget. We're pretty good right now. If you don't know, we just had a piece of equipment donated from the county. We have a good large front end loader that we're going to start using it. Our tree trimmer, I think we're slated to have that thing replaced this year or next year, but in all honesty, Councilman St. Martin, it runs great. It's in good condition, and I just don't replace something just to replace it, just because the time comes up. So as long as it's still working and it's still good operating condition, we're going to stretch that thing further out to a future year and not replace them unless we absolutely have to. And that's kind of the mode we'd like to continue operating under.
Okay. Well, along those same lines, we built this Public Works building, and I'll be honest, I thought we were going to be employing a mechanic or two, to take a little bit of the maintenance duties on for all of the equipment, for the fire trucks, for street trucks, for everybody. And I don't think we're really utilizing that to the best of its ability, which means we're subbing it out. We've got a lot of work that goes out to Andy and Dave's or Mark's place. And I'm trying to figure out, does it make more sense to hire a mechanic and be able to do that work in-house to save a little bit of money?
Well, we are doing that right now. If you look at their shop, we actually already have installed a lift in there. We do have a full-time mechanic in that shop. And I believe 90% of all the maintenance for our equipment and vehicles are being done in-house right now. The routine maintenance, oil change, brake jobs, tune-ups, things of this nature, even the equipment, my mowers, the tractors, our mechanic is maintaining all those in-house right now. And little by little, we're almost eliminating everything that we're going externally. Even the fire department, their regular vehicles, we're maintaining them. The fire trucks, we have a mechanic that's going to be going through some EMT certifications so he can be certified to work on those fire truck equipment. And understand, we did have a bit of a turnover where our old mechanic had left and we did replace him. So we're bringing him up to speed. And actually, he is up to speed, but in terms of those EMT certifications, we're in the project of achieving those so then we can actually start working on the fire trucks themselves also.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you. I'd also like to address, and I guess this is a Chuck thing. You have in here raises built in. Now, when I talked to you earlier, you said that doesn't necessarily mean that some of these raises, because they are merit-based, that they haven't been applied. They may be applied. They may not be applied. I guess I'm trying to figure out why such, I mean, some of them are pretty high percentage. And why are we're figuring it out to that degree?
So what you'll see in there, you'll see, you're going to see merit-based raises for the entire staff. However, that doesn't mean that everyone receives one. Merit is exactly that. It's based on merit. It's based on an evaluation system that we established last year. Was the first year that we put it into use. The directors will utilize that program to obviously evaluate staff by October 1st and implement the merit raises as they see fit. You'll see other positions in this budget where you'll see some increases, and those increases are basically identified in a couple ways. They're disparities from what you would see in other areas for the similar jobs. If you recall, a while ago, actually right prior to me getting here, you guys did a wage study. Until this year, we were still giving bumps based on that wage study to get people where they needed to be. There aren't too many raises other than the merit-based raises, except in the building department. I will tell you that with our permit techs, one of the things that we identified is, we need to bring some of those folks up to the level in which they deserve. And it also, I know, Councilman San Martin, you and I talked about it this morning. One of the hardest things is to be able to fill positions. And if you can't pay people to afford to live down here, then you can't get those positions filled. So as far as to answer your question about the merit base, all those raises are based off of evaluations that will be completed by October 1st with our new program that we've established.
Okay. All right. And then the last area I'd like to address is our IT, our budget for our IT. I feel like we're due for some changes to our IT situation, and I don't know that the budget is actually covers what we really need done. So I guess I'm asking here how much you've thought about any upgrades or changes to our provider.
Give me some examples of what you're thinking. I don't understand the question.
What I'm thinking is that with our ransomware situation, I'm not as happy with our provider as I was previously, and I want to know if there is money available here to upgrade our provider.
You mean looking to switch into a different provider?
Yes.
Okay, so as far as the ransomware goes, the council a few months ago, you guys approved an increase in contractual services for us for stronger cybersecurity. We basically took what the insurance company was providing for us right after the attack, and then we've stretched that out into a longer period. That it's quite expensive, and we are funding that. That's not with our current contractor. That's in addition to our current contractor. We're constantly reevaluating the contractor that we're using. To this date, we're not having any major issues with them. I know where you're going with this, but as far as the attack goes, according to the forensic investigation, there's really nothing that our contractors could have done to stop that. And we won't discuss it in this forum. We can talk about it in a shade meeting. I'll talk to the attorney about that for cybersecurity, but it doesn't warrant it. If you would like us to look into it, we can look into it if that's the council's wishes, and we can look into putting out for RFP at a later date. It's Mark, it's tough, man. You know the way that these things happen is you can have the latest and greatest, best there is, and these folks are working to get around it. And then once they get around it, they hit someone, and then they work to make the next best thing for cybersecurity. So it's tough. From a safety perspective, we feel like we're as good as we can be. But if it's the will of the council, I have no problems reviewing and putting that contract out to RFP.
I think at some point we need to be able to have, and the lawyer may have to chime in here. We need to be able to have a shade session. I know there's a lot of security issues involved, but we have not, as a council, sat down and had any kind of in-depth informational talk about what happened and how to prevent it. I'm sure we've all had one-on-one stuff, but you know, it's different when you say, well, it'd be the will of the council, but if the council can't get together and have an open conversation about it, you know, that's harder. So I would definitely like at some point for us to get together, and if you need a insurance company needs to be present to give their input or whatever the case is, I think that's definitely something we have to look into. I will also ask about our situation with our TV channel broadcast. We're doing nothing. I mean, seems like on that station, I flipped it on a couple times and it's just blank. Is this operation of this included in here?
Yeah, so you are absolutely right. We are deficient in that broadcast and the content for that program. There is funding available in here, and if we need to adjust that, we can do that in a budget amendment in the future. There's nothing that can't be adjusted in the future.
That's correct. This year in general services, we actually have a part-time position budgeted for a broadcasting technician for $30,000.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That concludes all of my stuff.
I moved the previous question.
Second.
Would you like me to call the roll, Mayor?
I'm sorry. Was there a motion made?
Yes.
Yeah, there was a
The motion
motion, a
was-
second.
Okay, a
and
second.
discussion.
And then I moved
All
the
right.
previous question, Mayor.
You
Would you like
moved
me
the
to call
previous
the roll?
question.
Would you like me
Okay.
to call the roll?
Yes.
Please.
Vice Mayor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilmember Bartis,
Yes.
Councilmember San Martin,
Yes.
Councilmember Zig,
Yes.
Mayor Cook,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, next item. Discussion of the 5-year capital improvement plan.
Thanks, sir. I'll go ahead and start this, and then Jennifer can chime in. You know, our 5-year capital improvement program, you know, it's a program that's neither adopted or approved by City Council. It really serves as a map for 5 years on how we put away funds for projects and infrastructure improvements. That you know, the way the program is set up is public health and safety is absolutely a priority. Second would be preserving capital assets. What you have, we've provided you guys a previous copy of that plan. It kind of outlines, you know, where we have issues, where we have to set aside issues. Some things aren't just this budget specific. We have to kind of project what we think revenue sources will be in the future and where to put money away for certain things. You know, a good example is that skate park. We know that the skate park has recurring costs every year, so we go ahead and we budget out those things. It's important to note that you know, where the revenue comes from for this program. It's not you know, what people normally generally think of as all general fund funds. It comes from our infrastructure sales tax, gas tax, and other areas. So, Jen, did you have anything else that you wanted to add before we get into a good discussion? I'm really looking forward to this one. You know, we haven't done this in depth, and I'd really like to re-rack some stuff on our wish list items moving forward.
I would just like to add that this is a pay-as-you-go plan, so it doesn't include any recommendations for taking out any debt. You'll see on, I think it's page 8, we have quite a long list of unfunded projects. So I think that's really where the good discussion will come, and maybe some things can fall off of that list and maybe some things can get moved closer to the top.
If possible too, if there's anything that we'd like to add to the list, now would be a good time to add it so that it doesn't get lost in future years, you know, so stuff can get documented. So with that, let's open the floor. Let's have a good conversation about it.
All right, who's up?
Well,
Louis,
Mr.
you
Mayor, I'll go-
you unmuted, so go ahead, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Vice.
I'll go first.
Mayor.
Chuck, I see there on page 8, since Jennifer went ahead and mentioned that about the unfunded items that are currently on the list. Towards the bottom of the list, there is the splash pad. I know that you and I have talked about this many times before, and prior to COVID, we've talked about it, and we've talked about areas of possible that it could go, and we've talked about the skate park that, you know, you just mentioned and hit on, you know, the reoccurring cost on a yearly basis. We've discussed potentials of possibly moving the skate park within the community park to another location and making it more of a permanent structure, so that way we could get away from you know, the repairs, the constant repairs. The structures that we currently have there are wood-based. They sit on water, and over time they rot. And just from talking to a couple of our maintenance guys, you know, they told me that, you know, they spend anywhere from 12 to 15 hours a month each, in doing patchwork. And patchwork is what it is, because there's going to come a time where all that stuff is not going to be any good, and we've spent a lot of patchwork. So can you tell me a little bit about what your thoughts are with one, first of all, a splash pad, and then the, you know, the rebuilding of the skate park, and just kind of moving things around at the park?
Yeah, so, you know, the splash pad is a conversation that we've talked about a lot. You know, I think there's been a lot of good support for it. The challenge we have, and don't take this as a negative, but the challenge that we have as a community, especially a small community with limited funds, is just prioritizing. And I'm very, very proud of this budget. Staff, especially Jennifer, more than anybody, has worked very, very hard on our budget, you know, and to be able to have a balanced budget without increasing millage again is phenomenal. But it does come with some challenges. You know, when splash pad, absolutely, we would love to have a splash pad. The challenge is we have to choose between, you know, we're forced to kind of choose between a splash pad and, you know, identifying debris sites and purchasing land for debris sites, building a much needed fire station, you know, closer to the other end of town to meet our standard requirements. You know, we constantly have large project improvements that need to happen. So unfortunately, things just kind of get jockeyed around, and, you know, the nice to haves always get overshadowed by the need to haves, right? And it's a shame, because we would all like to have this stuff. And so, you know, as far as a splash pad goes, you know, that is something that we can definitely have the discussion for. The challenge is, where does the money come from, right? If we're not going to increase taxes, or we're not going to identify other funding sources, or take a loan out, or however to do that, it's going to always get overshadowed by the need to haves. And right now, the need to haves following a hurricane, you know, and a bunch of other crises still continue to be challenging. Now, that being said, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was racking my brain today trying to remember those conversations back last year. You're absolutely right. The skate park is a tremendous challenge. It costs us money every year. From a risk standpoint, it worries me, because, you know, and having Bo there, you know, almost every week, you know, you're always finding little things that need to be fixed. God, I'm so glad you brought this up, Lou, because it's all coming back to me now. And Councilman Zig, I know we talked about this too. Mark, we've talked about it in other locations, but we have an opportunity at Community Park, where the skate park is, where if you wanted to have a splash pad, we could identify that area for that and just move the skate park over across the parking lot in that other area we have in the park, and put in a concrete park, right? That would require no maintenance and would last for many, many years. You could have an attendant in the middle that could service, you know, both sides and keep it safe. And it's close to the parks, where if there's ever an issue, people can go get help. Another good spot that I know Mark has identified is Rotary Park. That's another spot. But we're going to come down to, how do we pay for it, and how do we make that happen? And like Jennifer said, you know, this is a pay-as-you-go program. So in the capital infrastructure fund, you've got to identify where the funding is going to come from, and basically what's not going to get done to make it happen. Now, that being said, I like to strategic plan. So if we said we wanted to have a splash pad, then we can talk about it now, but then we should have a subsequent meeting and say, okay, we really want to do this, and we can outline how to do it. And whether it be put it out to RFP and, you know, get 3 bids and then send Jennifer and I to the banks to shop financing, or whether it be put it a certain amount of time out and see how many years it would take to put that money away to make it happen, and have it actually above that other projects list in the actual part of the plan. There's numerous ways we could do it, but we would have to sit down and really identify it. And if it was the will of the council, you guys would have to tell us to do that. We could move forward, but there are ways to do this. It's just not easy. And we need to have the honest conversation that, you know, where our priorities lie.
Chuck, I am curious. The last time we talked about this, we were kind of somewhere between 500. It was a weird number. It was like $500,000 and $5 million, somewhere in those numbers for the type and scope of splash pad, just for the structure, for the capital to build it. And then we were looking at somewhere between that same 500,000 and another $1 million just for personnel and operations annually. Isn't that somewhere where we
Yes,
were?
sir. Yes, sir.
And maybe that's for Jen.
Well, so let's break that down into 2 parts. First, the building.
To figure that kind of cash too.
Yeah, so let's break this into 2 parts. So the first part that you stated, right, the building of it. There's going to be a huge disparity on what it costs to build something if you don't know where you're going to put it, right? Okay. And I give that because, you know, if you were to put it, say, out at Sombrero, where we know Sombrero Beach area is predominantly fill. Cap Rock's relatively deep. We know that a lot of houses have to drive piles 20 feet plus to get down to Cap Rock. You know, you're looking at one thing. If you're looking on the other side of town, where we got to come and cut out Cap Rock, put in irrigation, build above the floodplain, I mean, it's all going to change. So what I would say is, you know, first let's identify where we want it to go, and then we can actually put it out to RFP and get some bids, so we know what an actual cost is. Now, the second part of that you brought up, which is a really good point, is the reoccurring maintenance. You know, we've had long conversations with staff in Key West. You know, the reoccurring maintenance, it can be very, very high, depending on how you build it. Now, I'll say that, you know, their splash pad, they have a huge reoccurring maintenance bill. However, however, we could capitalize on the way it was built and make those improvements in the beginning to reduce those numbers. So we would have to come up with the reoccurring funding, including the staff, to take care of it.
Sure. Thank you.
Perfect.
Mayor, can I jump in?
Yeah. It's a discussion, man. Come on.
Okay. So everybody knows that I've been asking, you know, this same question for a while now, and I'm definitely interested in doing some kind of splash park. As far as where, I don't want to get caught up in the details. I mean, that's asking all of us where is like asking all of us what we should set the pressure to in the sewer plant. We don't know. We're not the experts. Okay. Let the experts figure it out. You know, I would ask Paul to probably get together with his staff, with the city manager, maybe with even the fire chief, and come up with whatever they think is really the best location. So that's probably step 1 to me. They, you know, let the people who know what they're doing do it. Step 2 is we just need to decide, move forward, don't move forward. If we're going to move forward, let's just do it. We already know we don't have the cash to fund it outright. The only option seems to be a loan. At this point, interest rates are very, very low. Money's almost free at this point. I think there are a few things that we could free up around town that would probably give us a head start. where we wouldn't have to finance too much. But anyway, you cut it, you know, you're talking about some kind of a payment, monthly payment, yearly payment, however you want to break it down towards that. So I think those are the things that we need to be looking at today. I don't want to kick the can down the road any further. Yes, we can always talk about it at more meetings, but I think having a little bit of direction for staff today at budget time is a great idea.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Dr. Zaid, go ahead.
You know, there's one other thing to consider in my estimation, and that is there's a splash pad already at the Dolphin Research Center. And I go out there on a semi-regular basis, and it's hardly ever in use other than occasionally a couple kids. Would it be prudent, especially fiscally prudent, to approach the DRC and ask if there's some sort of an arrangement that we could help sponsor our citizens in going to the DRC and use their splash pad? It seems to me it would be far more efficient than for us to get into a discussion and spend millions of dollars.
Well, I know, Doc, we had this discussion last year, and it wasn't completely about DRC, but it was, at the time, it seemed that Crane Point was going and making a deal with the city subsidizing citizens to go there for nothing.
Mr. Mayor, I think we lost you
least
there.
in
Could
the
you start
meantime.
over again, please?
All right, I will try again. I seem to be having some audio issues in and out, but we tended to have the conversation last year regarding subsidies for splash pad when we were discussing and the fact. Okay, I guess I'm out. Or not sure what to do here.
Sir, can I summarize? I think I caught with what you were saying. If you could thumbs up this. So we had spoke in the past last year on a way to subsidize Crane Point Hammock, because Crane Point Hammock had proposed to put in a splash pad. Steve, can you give me a thumbs up if that's what you were referring to?
I think we lost him.
I think we lost.
Yeah, we lost his connection altogether.
Okay, let's continue.
Steve,
Steve, were you referring to the conversation about Crane Point Hammock and potentially subsidizing for residents at Crane Point Hammock?
Do you have me back?
Right. So I have not gotten any updates from Crane Point Hammock on their splash pad. I can, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to punt this to George.
Well, it wasn't only that. I was just using it as we had the conversation. They were all in favor of it. They didn't seem to. I can not imagine that they would have a problem with us bringing them more people. Because I too, when I've taken my grandson there, he's been the only one, and that was pre-COVID.
So we can definitely reach out and have those discussions again with Mandy at DRC. George, and I hate to ask you in a different capacity other than your city capacity, can you give an update for Crane Point and anything that they've been working on with their splash pad for the discussion?
Well, I think like everybody else, council and Chuck and whoever, we've been fighting COVID and just trying to stay afloat at Crane Point. I think I know Charlotte still has an interest in doing it, but right now we're just trying to keep our employees employed. And so maybe as we come out of this and into a better year, hopefully, then the answer is, yeah, I think we're still interested. Have absolutely no plans yet at this point. We'd certainly support it. I know Chuck, you and I and Charlotte talked about it. So there is an option there, but nothing right now.
Mr. Mayor.
We lost audio.
Mr. Mayor.
Did I lose audio? Mr. Martis, go ahead.
There we are. Thanks. Yeah, I was just doing a little texting back and forth with Charlotte over at Crane Point while we were discussing this, and says she's still interested, but possibly looking to secure funds. And I know this is a question for George and their board as well. So, you know, I think it's something to look at as a possible location down the line. But I would also agree with, first off, thank Vice Mayor Gonzalez for bringing this up to our attention again tonight. And I know I'm not the only one that's been contacted by some people from the community who really would like to see something sooner rather than later. And since we first started talking about an aquatic park, a splash pad, there's a generation of kids that's grown up and gone on. And what Councilmember San Martin said about right now, money being close to free, and it is, maybe we should take a look at doing something like this sooner rather than later, maybe elevating it to the top of our wish list so that, you know, the families that are here and really want to use it will be able to have the opportunity to do just that. The exploration of it's going to be one of our parks, or it's going to be a Crane Point can be done, but we still have to set the ball in motion. And I would really be in favor of putting this close to the top of our list.
If I could make a suggestion to the council, you know, the importance of this list really is to kind of establish things and then allow us to, as years go by and as you guys are well aware, elections happen and council comes and goes, right? It allows us to keep trudging on, moving forward instead of going right, going left, going right, going left. To make a good decision on this, you know, we really need to know the facts. And if it's your will tonight, what I would propose is let me identify the location with staff that's appropriate, that's right. And then let us put out to RFP what it would actually cost for that site. And then I will bring it back to you under the capital improvement program. Again, this isn't a program that's adopted and ratified, right? This is a program that's that's fluid. And we will get those actual numbers to you, and we will bring them back to you sooner than later. I will tell you that I would like to do that with the understanding that the funding, obviously we'd have to then take the amount and figure out where the funding is going to come from. But let's get an actual number that's not just pie in the sky, because we have to actually identify the location. And Councilman Gonzalez, you know, I agree with you. You know, I would really, if we did do it somewhere, and I'll talk to Paul about this, you know, there's two locations that it makes sense the most, and we'll look into both of them. One of them being a community park and working and actually killing two birds with one stone, to use your words, with the skate park. And the other one is potentially at Rotary Park. So we'll look at both of them, do some feasibility, and get back to you. But I know that we all want this. It's just a matter of what's a priority. So let's find out what it's going to actually cost, and then we can prioritize. Does that sound okay?
Mr. Mayor, we have you back by phone.
I'd like to make that motion, actually, Chuck, to direct staff to identify a location, come up with a cost, but I'll take it one further, and to have contact with a bank to investigate the possibility of a low-cost loan.
Well, I'll tell you what, we could do that, and then Jennifer, I know you're on the line, and then when we come back to you, we want to make sure that if we do that, there's all, you know, everything has second and third order effects. So if we do end up proposing loans or taking a loan out, we need to explain to you how that affects our bond ratings and other things in the future. So we'll do that as well. Are you okay with that, Jennifer?
Yeah, I just also want to point out that with COVID, our capital infrastructure sales tax money took a huge hit. So hopefully that will rebound quicker than the state is projecting, and we won't be in such a dire strait. You know, at the end of fiscal year 22 in capital infrastructure, we're only going to have $338,000 of available fund balance. In 23, it goes to 584. In 24 and 25, we get back to the $1 million range, which, as you know, that doesn't go very far for capital outlay. So if any of our projects that are currently programmed in the plan go over, we are going to be scrambling. We also have to, in order to take out debt to do this, we have to have a revenue stream to be able to pledge. Our capital infrastructure money is also pledged against our stormwater and wastewater debt, as well as our TD Bank bond. One thing we could explore is actually refinancing the TD Bank bond that was taken out to refinance the prior SunTrust Bank bond and to do the City Hall. So we do have options available, and it is a nice time interest rate wise.
So I still have a motion on the table.
Council, there is a motion on the table.
I'll second that.
Anyone for a second? Sounds like Vice Mayor Gonzalez has seconded. Will you call the roll?
Councilmember San Martin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilmember Vardas,
Yes.
Councilmember Zig,
Yes.
Mayor Cook,
Yes.
motion carries.
So, Mr. Lindsay, anything else on the capital plan that you want to discuss?
Yeah, what I would like to discuss, if you guys turn to page 8, and it says other potential projects identified by staff, and obviously those funding sources aren't available. I'd like your input on any other projects that you see or you foresee, putting on this list so that it doesn't fall off the radar in future years. One of the things, I want to make sure, and I don't see it on there. In this position, I've reviewed a lot of past documents, a lot of past projects that the city's, these studies that the city did back in the early and mid 2000s, and one of them was this kind of revitalization program and study, and Cocoa Plum Boulevard is a really good example. There was a good study done that kind of showed how you could clean up and kind of revitalize our Cocoa Plum Boulevard. I would like that on the list. There was a really good study on working waterfront. Now, we're not going to put this on here, but we have all these really good documents that the city did, way back when that, reviewing them, there are good projects that we should have on this list so they just don't lose, we don't lose that corporate knowledge of them. So I would like to add Cocoa Plum Boulevard on here. And then ask you guys, is there anything else that you want to put on here so that it stays on the radar?
Chuck,
Well, to be
Chuck,
honest,
the Cocoa
Chuck,
Plum increases in street maintenance, so it is on there.
Okay, good. And I'm sorry, I apologize, Jennifer. I'm looking at it. I just don't see it. Thank you.
Chuck, can you hear me? Okay. I was curious if we could work on identifying any other properties for another program, potentially.
For a boat ramp?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's really good.
I mean, we've seen what happens when there's a blockage or a closure up north, and it can devastate a neighborhood. And if we can just be flexible enough to be able to expand and contract or move around, that would be great.
Good one.
Would everybody be in agreement with that? I think head nods or thumbs up would be fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chuck,
Yes.
also, I would say that we should reach out to the electric company because I'm told that they are ripping out their boat ramp and putting in a really nice boat ramp, upgrading, and they're right there next to the marina, and there may be room for a partnership with them. So maybe explore that as well.
Huh, interesting. Mr. Lindsay.
Yes, sir.
No, I can't see anybody anymore, so I'm trying to go back.
I gave Mark a thumbs up. I got it.
Okay, I'm just on my rail, so trying to figure this out as we go.
If there's no other input from the council, I would also like to open the floor up to Mr. Davis, Mr. Solis, and Mr. Sauce, if there's any capital type projects that they think would be good ideas for council's visibility and to put on the list for future awareness.
Excellent idea.
Mr. Davis?
Yeah, I would like to, something in the future, maybe like some form of either storage or maybe even a possible work area for at the parks, at the community park for basically storage. Because right now we store a lot of our equipment over at the beach property, and having to go back and forth. You know, it's a time and just the inconvenience of having to do that, and then also having to store some equipment at the 104th warehouse also can cause a problem. So if we had something at the community park where we, some form of indoor facility there where we can have like a workshop / storage area where we can keep the majority of our equipment there, it'll give us access to that equipment right away instead of having to go to different areas to get the equipment. And possibly, like I said, get, you know, golf carts and some, maybe a possible couple of gators to keep the field maintenance as far as like the baseball fields and things of that nature. But also with the skate park, I think the skate park definitely needs to be addressed like as soon as possible.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I just want to reinforce Mr. Davis's comments about the skate park, and I believe Mr. Gonzalez mentioned this earlier too. If we were to change that location and put it across on the other lot there, it really makes sense to redo that as a concrete park as opposed to a wooden one that will require maintenance every few years. We can make the elements out of concrete. I think that'd be a whole lot better for everybody concerned.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
Carlos, Carlos, did you have anything that you wanted to add? Any projects?
The only thing that I'll add, and I know that's something that the city's been, and I know you touched base on it, was the electric co-op, but that additional boat ramp, maybe the very south end, we've always talked about an oceanside boat ramp for the city that, you know, may be very beneficial. Of course, property is real difficult, but for example, that where Salty's used to be at the very south end of town, there used to be a marina and what have you, which may be a possible good location. It is Bayside, but it's so close to the 7 Mile Bridge that may be a possibility to put that additional boat ramp that would really help out the city a lot. And the other thing I made add, going to what Paulia said, and this maybe can be done in short order, and maybe we can talk to Jennifer about that, but that area at the park where we used to have an enclosed area for outdoor storage, to maybe put a metal building there. Doesn't have to be huge, doesn't have to be really tall, but just a metal building there that we can, that's a pretty good size area that you might be able to put like a 4,000 or 5,000 square foot metal building there to storage, like I said, the workshop, things of this nature, as opposed to running out to some Borough Beach to store that kind of stuff. So that's something that maybe Paul and I can look at. Doesn't have to be something huge. Maybe, like I said, even 2,000 or 3,000 square feet that you pour slab and have somebody erect a standard, pretty basic metal building out there to accommodate those needs.
Okay, thank you.
And the other thing, of course, my biggest thing is, which is on the list, but I think it really needs to become a big priority, but is that permanent debris removal site. I think we've lost 3 out of the 4 areas that we used in Irma are now gone because they've been developed, and we really are in a pinch right now in terms of a debris site. So that to me would be one of the biggest priorities, I think, in the next couple of years that we need to try to identify.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Thanks.
And thank God we're almost in the middle of October, because that means street signs will be done. I think there was a promise there, middle of October, right, Carlos?
I actually have the signs in my shop, Mark. They were here 3 weeks ago. I had to send them back because they were only printed on one side. So I had to send them back. I've got them all back, but I've got all the new signs in my shop. And Doug and I actually talked about possibly subbing out the installation, because my crews I'm playing cash up right now, and I just don't have the manpower to take my crews away to install it. So we're looking at that, maybe contracting out to have somebody at least drop all the posts in the ground so we can just mount signs and nothing else. But we've got them in the shop. They're there.
Hey, Dan, did you have anything, Dan Sauce, did you have anything that you wanted to add? Not just wastewater. I mean, you're a good critical thinker, buddy. Do you have anything you can think of?
I don't, not for my department. I think I've got everything covered. You know, a lot of my stuff, my hand was kind of forced on. You'll see some some things coming up on the next meeting to do improvements. But, you know, based on the age of the plants and the growth in the city, you know, I think we've got things pretty well lined out. Living by one of the boat ramps, I would echo everybody's thoughts that another boat ramp would be huge. I've been here. I've seen so many boats waiting to use the boat ramp that they actually throw anchors out and wouldn't wait. So it's much needed in the community. That Salty's property, you know, we've all looked at that. It's still sitting there empty.
I agree.
Yeah, it's just something to think about.
Yes, thank you, Dan.
Hey, Salty's just got bought. It just is one under contract.
Are we talking about building a boat ramp?
Had a conversation with John Wolf today. Maybe.
All right, council, I think, you know, I'd like to punt it back to you guys. If there's anything else you'd like to add to the list or any projects you think that we'd like to at least encapsulate on this plan, we can get it drafted up and then we'll come back to you. If not, we'll come back to you with the data on the splash pad. And, you know, this is something as ideas come up, we can always add them throughout the year. Okay, this is one of those things I want you to always keep in the back of your minds. If you have an idea, we bring it to council. If council likes it, we throw it on the list.
Agreed. Perfect. Thank you.
Just as a point of order, I know we had some callers calling in. Maybe now is a good time if we do have any public comment to see if they'd like to say anything about this.
Thank you, Mr. Bartis. Mr. Lewis, do we have any callers that wish to speak?
We have two callers on the line. Actually, just two callers on the line right now, but I don't know if anybody is here to speak publicly.
All right, so this is a call out to you. If you're listening and you're on the line, on the call, on the Zoom, if
Hello?
you're on any, hello, please state your name and where you live.
Hey, Chelsea Lyons, and I live here in Marathon. Have for a long
All right,
time.
timer.
Yeah. Hey. So I was calling in. Oh, hi. Sorry. Good evening, everyone. I was calling in about the splash pad. I had sent an email earlier to everyone that I had a petition done and just wanted to let everybody know that I know there was a discussion about the priorities for what needed to be a priority for everyone or not. And I do believe that a splash pad needs to be a priority. I know that it's not necessarily something we need technically. I know it's not a need, but there are a lot of families that are leaving because they don't feel like there's enough amenities here in town. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of that if you weren't already. I know that there already has been a motion set forward to find a location and funding, so I really appreciate that. And but I just kind of wanted to really drive it home that that's definitely appreciated and needed for a lot of us here. And that's it. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank you, Ms. Lyons. Anyone else?
Hello?
Hello, state your name and where you live, and please start the timer.
Hi, it is Laura Chaplin Taylor, and I live in Marathon. Just like Chelsea, I grew up down here. I lived here a very long time. I am here to call about the splash pad also. I think it is much needed. I think it's also wanted. Working with a lot of families with children in our community, it is something that, yes, we have the beach, yes, we have some parks, but it is hot. We need a place to cool off. We need some place that's fun to go, let our families be together, and something for all the families that are filling up these hotels and vacation rentals. They also want some place to take some of the smaller kids to also. I'm glad to see that it's being looked at a little more seriously. I think the Clay property would be awesome. I just wanted to put in my 2 cents there and tell you guys thanks for looking at it. That's
Yes,
all.
ma'am. All right, thank you. Thanks for calling in. And thank you, Mr. Bartis, for reminding about the callers. Sometimes these virtual meetings, you just tend to lose track. At least I do. Sorry. And thank you for the point of order. Moving along, I'm assuming that those were the citizens' comments. Let's go to council comments. And let's start with you, Mr. Bartis. I think you're on mute still.
Hello?
Try that.
Sorry.
There's somebody there to speak.
Somebody else is calling.
Sorry, I didn't realize I had to push *6. My name's Natalie Campbell. I also live in the Marathon. I've been here my whole life. And I'm raising 2 babies here, and I completely appreciate and support at least getting the ball rolling with the splash pad for families here in Marathon. It is not necessarily a priority item, and I understand, you guys do hard work to do justice for everything in the city, and I appreciate and support that. And I think that the strategic plan that you guys have to research and get estimates and the location and staff is awesome. And I just appreciate that. And having this discussion has just put more confidence in you guys and what you're doing for the city. So I really appreciate that, because I go to the splash pad sometimes 3 times a week during the summer, and I've got 2 little ones, almost 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. Sometimes there's like 5 huge kids running around. It's not a big area. So, I choose not to go there. There are a lot of children that go there. I go there quite often. And a lot of times it's packed. And a lot of times it's, most of part of the year, this time of the year is nice and it's quieter. But so I support just another one. I think it's useful. We live in the Port Keys. We're hot mostly all year long. So I just wanted to put my 2 cents in also and just tell you guys thanks for finally getting the ball rolling. Thank you.
Council, this is Chuck. I'd also like to add, the plan has worked thus far. One of the things that we've seen this year was a direct reflect of the capital plan. And for the callers listening, the new playground equipment that you've seen this year, and there's a lot more coming this year, along with shade structures in other parts of town. The shade structures that have gone up, that's a direct reflection of this capital improvement plan, project. It's also taken into a lot of communication from folks like those that called today on what the town needed. So I wanted to thank you, council, for last year's budget. It was tough to do, but we definitely have seen improvement, a lot of improvement throughout town. And with a plan like this, we'll see a lot of improvement in the future. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Back to you, Mr. Bartis, for council comments.
Thank you very much. First off, thanks to our staff, our department heads, our manager, and our finance director, Jennifer, for putting the budget together, putting together what's going to help keep the city moving forward with, challenging revenue streams, both in the recent past and in the immediate future. Certainly do appreciate your efforts and look forward to working with you for the next 2 years and a couple of months or thereabouts. So we'll try to get this together and try to get some stuff done. Thanks to the people who have given us input as to what they would like to see. And on this date in 1656, which has absolutely nothing to do with anything we've discussed, the General Provincial Court in session at Patuxent, Maryland, impaneled the first all-women jury in the colonies to hear evidence against one Judith Catchpole. She was accused of murdering her child, but she was acquitted because she had a very unique defense. She had never been pregnant. And so that's your moment in history today. Thanks very much, and see you guys soon.
How about Mr. Sen Martin, please?
I'm afraid I don't have anything as profound as that. I want to say thanks to Chuck and Jennifer and all of the staff. I know budget time is definitely hard and stressful. and you guys can get upset when you see me giving you a hard time about something, but the fact is, I want to make sure that you have all the tools that you need to succeed, and that's kind of what our job is up here. And while I appreciate definitely trying to save money everywhere you can, sometimes you have to spend a little bit of money to make things right. So that's just where my head is when it comes to the city, giving you the proper tools to do the best job you can. So thank you all for working hard, and have a good night.
Thank you. Dr. Zig.
Well, again, I want to echo the comments about the hard work that the staff has done, led by Chuck Lindsay. Thank you all for your diligence in presenting this budget, but especially to Jennifer for hard work, tweaking, adjusting, and keeping us solvent and educating us all. Thank you again. Have a great evening.
Wow, you traded the day in history. Crazy. All right, Vice Mayor.
Yes, sir. I would actually I'll echo that. Thanks, Chuck, for the leadership. Jennifer, amazing. Thank you for always adjusting on the fly. And to all the department heads, you're the guys that make it happen. You guys know what you need out in the streets, and thank you, and to you and to all your staff. Good night.
And before I have a comment, this is Mr. Steve Williams' first meeting with us officially. I'd like to welcome him as our new legal counsel. And I know he's said that the less he says, the happier everybody is. But honestly, I just wanted to say hi, and if you had any words, you could feel free.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I bumped into most of you, even through the course of only being here 2 days in the office, but I've seen most of you. It's been a pleasure. It's been fun. I'm not going to spend any time talking about what I used to do. I'm here with you, but just to pass on and to keep this legal, for those of you watching the national news, and as we started this meeting with the passing of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, one of the prominent names you're going to hear mentioned as her potential replacement on the Supreme Court, whether it be now, sometime in the future, Judge Barbara Lagoa of the 3rd DCA should be a familiar name. She's ruled on approximately 15 cases involving cases here in the Keys, including more than one case involving the city of Marathon. She's had a role in one of the Shands decisions, also the Byer decision. So if you hear that name and you're watching the national news, you're part of that. And so just bring it to your attention, and I'll be done talking law stuff now.
Okay. Thanks. And once again, welcome.
Thank you.
So I'd also like to do what I normally do, is thank the staff for the things that they do on a daily basis that goes widely unnoticed. We try to notice, and whether we notice everything you do or not, know that your work is vital and your work is appreciated. Without you in any level, whether you're digging ditches or you're coming up with a budget, it makes a difference, and this city runs because of it. Thank you so much. With that, I'd like to give thanks to MCSO, Marathon Fire Rescue, FWC, and U.S. Coast Guard for the things that they do on a daily basis. And even when we have huge crises, whether it be on land or on the water, they're there to help us. Thank you. I'd like to thank our governor for standing up and making a stand against some of the things that are happening these days. Thanks to the governor. But special thanks for Chuck for your leadership, and Jen for your meticulous mind and almost maniacal mind coming up with how to put this budget together and keep us going. Thank you so much. You are greatly appreciated. And with that, let's have an adjournment. Ta-ta for now.
Peace out.